Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
Ham Nation is brought to you by Icom. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 102, June 12th, 2013. Dale tells us where to send our videos. Hello, everybody. It's K9EID, and I'm back in Pleasant Hope, Missouri. And we have a very exciting show tonight, as always. But we've got a lot of guests, so get your pencil out. We're going to give you a lot of information. Going to go down and see what's going on in Southern Cal. How are you, Gordo? Everything okay?
Everything is fine. Surf was up 3 to 4 feet. A little bit of a nice swell coming in from the northwest. And now we have June gloom for a day or two. Back to you, Bob.
Ooh, talking about June gloom. I just minutes ago received these pictures from Amanda. We were going to have her on tonight, and she wrote me earlier and said, the fire's 1 mile from us, and their repeater was up on a mountain. Brian, have you got those pictures that she just sent? Look at this.
Boy. Oh.
Whoa. And, of course, her and Jeff are heavily involved out there in all of the emergency communications around Denver. And, boy, those kids have had it. My goodness, they just have such bad luck. But that's really scary when you look out your window and that's what you see, all these fires around the Denver area, Colorado. It's really, really sad. So we put you in our prayers and hope that everything comes out okay for you and Jeff, Amanda. And thanks for sending those along. And we'll check in with you and maybe get you next week so we can get a full report of what's going on. But I know everybody wanted to know how Amanda was doing, and none of us, me especially, I didn't know that she was into the situation with the fire. So hang in there, kids. We're praying for you. Well, we wanted to bring Dale on. Dale is a new party here on the Ham Nation line. He came aboard, I guess last year when they started the AfterNet thing, and he's become very involved, as all 4 of our AfterNets have. But he's going to take over some of the video and still pictures. So, Dale, K0HYD, how are you doing tonight? You okay?
Hey. Real good, Bob. Glad to be here, and good evening to you and Gordo. Don't have the June gloom here, but we had 100.1 degrees at the K0HYD weather station today, so it's summertime already.
Wow. Well, you know, we really had not met personally. We met on the air several times, and I saw you walking around Dayton. Boy, you had some enormous camera, and then I found out you really know what to do with it. So Gordo and I thought, maybe we should tap you to take on this job. It's a big job. We have a lot of videos and stills that come into all of us, but it's really hard for me to find the ones that work and so on. I just run out of time, and I know Gordon's over the edge. So we appreciate you stepping in and helping us. So let us know a little bit about what you want to do. We're going to do many more shows with you each week to help us with some of the stuff we can make better on our videos. But where do we need to send the videos and the stills? And give us a little caption of what's going to happen, Dale.
Okay, let's start off with the slide that I sent out to Brian earlier today. We'd like to have you send your photos and the links for your videos to my personal email address. That would be dale.puckett@att.net. That I think is the best way, and I'll route it into a special folder so I don't miss anything. One important thing, we've got to have the information that goes with the pictures. The picture itself may stand alone, may not, but everybody wants to know who that person in the picture is. So we essentially need to answer the 5 W's of journalism from back in the old days. Who, what, where, when. And if you got time in your caption, tell us why you're doing it and how also. And we can write up a little story to go with your photos. We have 5 or 6, we can put together a sequence and tell a story about amateur radio here on Ham Nation. You can probably tell that same story on your local television station or to the local newspaper also.
Well, that's very important for everyone to know is about the W's in journalism, because that's what happens. I get a lot of pictures and they just send a picture. And I'm like, who did it come from? Why was it taken? And all of that. So that's really great information, and everyone needs to pay attention when you send the videos and the stills to Dale to let us know why you did it, where it was, and all that. That's very important. And it's going to come to your regular dale.puckett@att.net. Is that correct, Dale?
That is correct. Dale.puckett@att.net. And with the videos, make sure you do the same thing. Give us the who, what, where, when, and why and how with the video also, so we can properly introduce you and your video. We got a lot of good ideas for Ham Nation here concerning videos and photos even. We're sort of envisioning maybe having a contest every month for maybe the funniest safe video and maybe the best serious video, and let you vote on Al's website, possibly www.hamnation40.net, and that'll be great. But next week, we hope to start going into the fundamentals to tell you how to tell the amateur radio story with photographs.
Okay, well, that will be super, just super. The slide that's up there now of Al's site is really, really good. If you guys haven't checked into that, you should do that and see what's going on. What's the address of that again, Dale?
It's www.hamnation40.net. We have a lot of fun on there. All 3 of us stream live video during the net over Ustream, and Al replays it there on that one website. We also tweet all the time, and it strikes me that sometime we ought to get Facebook in the loop too. So we have a lot of fun on there, multitasking and doing things while we're running the net. Everybody seems to enjoy it.
Look at this. That's great. Well, be sure and check in, everybody, and you'll see all of those characters after the show and during the show. They have their own show. Gordon, did you know that they're having more fun than we are there? Did you know that, Gordo?
Yeah, they've been talking about it on the air, so I'm very jealous, and I've got to get on there sometime soon.
We'll be listening for you.
Okay. Gordo, you have anything for Dale before we let him go have more fun on Ham Nation 40?
No, we think it's great, Dale, because we want to start it out. People thinking this weekend after next field day, and I'm specifically looking for funny field day frolic folly videos. And so if you've got some funny things happening at your field day, we sure want to see them and get them to Dale. Right, Dale?
Get them to us real quick so we have time to look at them, get them linked, and get them up to Brian and the gang at Petaluma. So, and are we going to show the pictures of the QSL cards and get some more people to send in their cards? We've received, I think, most of us about 100, 125 or so so far. Well, there you're looking at the first one. That's Al's QSL card. The front pictures like this are all similar, but they have all different pictures on them. Then on the back, we tell the story of the location of the station. Like Bill here is from Round Rock, Texas, and we've got a picture, it'll be on the other side of the card, of a round rock. And it's actually the round rock that started the Chisholm Trail, and it started the city of Round Rock. So it's quite interesting. We'll have that story right on the card. The same with the Hat City in Danbury. And I'll probably say something about the air capital here in Wichita. And then we've got a picture of Mike that's it's a riot in one of those things where you stick your head through the bars. And in this case, it's a garlic he's sticking his head through. So the people got to send in their QSL cards with the self-addressed stamped envelopes. Get these cards, because I think they'll really enjoy them. And it's a good keepsake from Dayton and from the Ham Nation Nets.
What a great job. All right. Well, we're so pleased to have you, and thanks for joining us here. And we'll try to have you on as many times as we can so we can get some videos and stills, because that's what makes this program. It's about all of you out there watching. It's not just us trying to keep it all going here, but we need to keep Brian busy back in Petaluma punching up all of the videos and pictures. But Dale's going to be able to help us make it a little easier for him to do that. Dale, thanks for coming. We'll see you on the net afterwards. And
Very good.
we really appreciate all you're doing. Okay.
We'll be listening
we'll
for you,
see
Bob.
you then.
Yeah. See you then. Bye-bye.
Go ahead. Okay. 7-3. That's great. All righty. Well, it doesn't get any better than that. Those cards are something, Gordo. I was very impressed, as I know that they worked really hard to put those together, so I'm happy about that. So let's see what else is happening in Gordo's world. You got some shots of your own, and let's see what you got going.
Well, I do. These are actually shots by one of our fellow ham radio instructors. In fact, our last class for students was last weekend, extra class, and now we take off for summer to go surfing. And then this fall, we're going to teach Elmers and instructors how to teach Gordon-type classes. But this instructor really did a good job on his SUV. His name is Walter, KI6ZVL. And Ryan, if you'll go ahead and roll it, I'll try and describe the great job that Walter did in installing a Yaesu FT857D in his 2007 GMC Yukon. And Walter works for Amtrak, so he laid out all the parts ahead of time. And he rips open the trunk hatch of his vehicle, wanting to make sure he has a great ground. The HF antenna is positioned way in the back of the vehicle. He double grounds the ground lid of the vehicle and the trunk lid to make sure that it's got a good DC ground. You can see there's a dedicated hand that'll literally rip stuff out of the vehicle, driving in the holes, making sure that the rig body itself is well grounded. Great idea to clean up the screws. And he's got little grommets around each of the little wiring. Not only does he crimp, but he solders all of his ring washers and ring lugs. He's got everything labeled perfectly. He's got everything trimmed up. It hides behind the back seat, and it's got plenty of ventilation. You'll see where he's got it nice and ventilated. Again, what Walter does is he provides tons and tons of grounds on his Yukon for his HF installation. And you cannot see any of the wires. Now, I'm not brave enough to do this, Bob, but he rips open the dash to get all the wires up and the wiring harnesses. You can see that he spared no expense in getting wires hidden away. And talk about an up-high head for safety. He's got it up high. The speaker mounts out of the way where he can hear it easily, and he's got the mic that comes out there. And then in the engine compartment, fusing right at the battery compartment, and he's picked off 12 volts at a good 12-volt distribution point that will be nice and safe. He's actually found a hole to get it in from the engine compartment to the front of the vehicle. There's the big mount for holding that ATAS antenna. And notice he's dug right into the inside of the vehicle to get a good ground. And there it is, the high-frequency ATAS antenna on the left side and the VHF antenna on the right side. The radio, when the seats are up, you can't even see it. In fact, in Walter's installation, look at that. Is that great? You cannot find out where it is. When he's driving down the road, he just glances up, and there it is, the 857 remote head. So that's the Walter installation, and I think it was one of the nicest ones. And as you can see, very, very tidy, where you look at that. You just can't see any wires at all. He's got everything well labeled, VHF on one side, HF the other. It's got the head all adjusted up there for nice and safety, and it's clear of the airbags. So we're always proud when we see someone, especially one of our fellow instructors, go to such great lengths to do a Sano HF installation. So we look forward to seeing more instructors logging on to haminstructor.com. If you would, www.haminstructor.com, and we're going to share this fall every secret that I've been teaching for 40 plus years with ham Elmers, with Boy Scout leaders. We want more and more hams to take over what I've been doing, and I can't wait to teach the teachers teaching ham radio. So, Bob, back to you, and let's see what else we have tonight.
Gordo, do you have any idea of how many people have gotten their license through your courses? Do you have any records of that?
Well, our publisher said we're up about 7 out of every 10 that has a license or an upgrade may have used some of our training materials. And it sure is fun meeting folks on the air because we do it as a passion. And it's fun seeing where all the new hams have ended up.
Yeah, I congratulate you. And I know that you had quite a party this past weekend in Southern Cal to commemorate the end of one era and the beginning of another. So hats off to you, my friend. I'm really honored to be your friend and have watched you all through the decades as you've turned so many people onto ham radio and help them get their license. How cool is that? So we look forward to many, many more, and helping the instructors is a good idea because we need to get more people out there in the trenches. So thanks very much, Gordon, from all of us to you and Susie. I know she was a big part of that, right?
Well, very good. Well, thanks so much. It's fun. This weekend up at the Ham Radio Outlet Store in Anaheim, we're having a ham jam, getting ready for field day. And I know next week, Bob, we've got a show devoted to field day, but I know you've got something in your back pocket about field day that's coming up in about a week and a half from today.
You guys have no idea. You just have no idea how thrilled I am about field day this year. I've always had really a lot of fun. I go around and visit various clubs, but this year is really special for me, and I'm very, very honored and blessed to have been invited to come down to Wes Shum's house. And I have the two guys that put it together, and I want you to all take notes because you can come and join us, I think. We have Mr. Central Electronics, K5EF here. Nick, are you on board just yet? Greetings.
Oh, I'm here. How are you? You're looking great.
I'm great. Yeah, I'm counting the days now. And before it won't be too long, I'll count the hours. Thank you for being with us and letting us know what's going to go on. And of great help has been George. And George, W1 LSB, what a great call. How are you, George?
Pretty good, Bob. Having a little fun here watching the show and enjoying it. And hello to Ham Nation.
Well, it's so nice to see you guys here. Well, Nick, you started this whole thing. Of course, you and Wes have been friends for years. And tell us a little bit about where this is going to happen, the location, and a little bit about what's going on for Field Day.
Well, it's going to be on his QTH, which is in Jonesboro, Tennessee, at Storybrook Farms, and believe you got some photos of that. It's really a wonderful spot to have field day. It just looks spectacular, and it's 27 acres. It'll all be mowed down and primed and ready for us I don't know if you caught it before, but the real treat this year will be the appearance of the Central Electronics 100R prototype receiver that Joel Thurtell will be bringing to the event. And of course, we will have numerous technical discussions. Bob Sullivan will have one, and of course, George, W1LSB as well. And we're just hoping to have a really good turnout. And the guys that bought boat anchor rigs over at Dayton just a few weeks ago, I hope you have had those soldering irons running and got them going out. Says
well, I understand that George George is going to be there to help me figure out how I can get that R100 receiver into my suitcase. Hey, George, George, have you figured that out yet? Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good, Bob. You're going to need a big suitcase for that one. That's quite a receiver. I'm actually really thrilled to have the opportunity to take a look at that and take a few photographs of it, and maybe even put my my sticky little fingers on the knobs once or twice. But
yeah, it's going to be fun.
As Nick says, it's going to be really a fun time.
It is. Let's run some of these photographs. Let's see. We got some of the property. Let's take first of all the pictures of Wes's equipment and stuff. Go ahead and let her roll there, Brian, and let the guys talk through it. Nick, tell us a little bit about that picture. It's kind of special, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you hear me now? I was having problems with my microphone.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Good. Okay. Yeah, this was this is one of those special events that happened back in the 50s. They used to have these single sideband dinners, and as you can tell, there's quite a group. And I haven't seen too many guys in coat and tie over at the events that I've been at, but that was the order of the day back then. This was a real single sideband was high class, and if you yes, and of course the 10A. That's what got everything started with Central Electronics. Now this was from last year when we had the first meet with Wes, and we had a display of all the representative equipment that he manufactured over the years from 1951 to when Central was deactivated in 1962. Of course, this is Wes and Marge, and they will both be at the Boat Anchor Field Day, and they're really excited and looking forward to this event and seeing all of his ham buddies again. Of course, this is us last year. Bob Sullivan to the right, George, myself, and Wes, the man of honor.
Those are great.
Some pictures of just the area that we'll be in. This actually was Wes's QTH. Now it's part of Diane and John Voigt's bed and breakfast, but we'll be using it for the lectures. And this is more of a panoramic view that has both the log house and also his. You can see a little bit of the field. Now this is the pond, of course, and I expect to hope, at least I would hope, that we have lots of RVs and tents and antennas around this pond. Gives you another perspective of the view. Wow. This, of course, is inside where we'll be having our tech discussions.
All right.
There you go.
That's really super. We're so excited about this. I have my original manuscript of how I built what is behind me and that you so wonderfully helped restore. This was back in 1958, and a good friend of mine here in Springfield bound it in a leather-bound book, and I've had it for a long time. And I will guarantee you that when we come back to Ham Nation, you guys will see a big signature right here from Wes Shum and Nick and George and Bob and all the guys that are making Central Electronics live once again. And I'm such a freak about Central Electronics because this was my textbook that I learned so much about electronics. It was building that rig and keeping it on the air, and all of the wonderful things about phasing. A lot of guys, how do you do this? How do your microphones work so good? Where'd you learn the phasing? And we're talking about some heavy-duty engineers around the world. I learned it from that 20A behind me. Phasing is very important, but I'm really excited about this, and I appreciate so much you putting this together so we can come and see everybody and meet Marge and Wes, of course, and his daughter and so on. But George, do I need to bring a bigger suitcase for this R100, or what do I do? I'm not getting an answer on this.
I think a steamer trunk might be in order, actually.
I can do that. I can bring one of the road cases. I'll borrow a road case from Walsh. You know, he's got too many amplifiers. I'll just borrow one of his road cases, okay?
There you go. I've heard some stories about those.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I can tell you some stories about it. I just want him to hold one thing, that receiver. I mean, don't you think it should be, Nick, don't you think it would be nice, Nick, to be sitting right back there? I mean, what do you think, Nick?
Oh, a place of distinction, ham distinction, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
you
if everybody's trying to figure out what are you guys all talking about, what's the story, Nick? He built one of these. Is that true?
Well, they had actually planned to build. They had actually planned to build 4 of them, and only one has survived. There were others built, but in various stages of assembly. The one that Joel has is the one sole survivor. It was close to being a production unit, but it still had a ways to go. It was under development for close to 3 years, and quite a innovative unit. It looks, it's the same size as a 100 or 200B. It fits in the same cabinet, has the same VFO. It was designed to transceive with the 100 and 200B. It just took a very long time to be designed and built.
How far ahead of its time is that? Transceive in 1958 or whenever? What year was that built?
Well, I started it in 1957, but on and off. Central, of course, had problems getting the 100V out. It was such a revolutionary device, and although the 100R started production within Central, Zenith, their military electronics division, actually took the project over and built it separately from Central, simply because Central was so overwhelmed with 100V orders and then building the 200V.
Isn't that great? Well, I was on last night on the Collins Net, and I get on with my 20A and my wonderful 600. I don't know if you can see the 600 behind me, but the 600L. And for all of you guys and gals listening, figure about this now. We're talking 1955. That amplifier is what, 500 watts, Nick, and it has one knob on it, a band switch. There is no load. There is no tune. Oh, there's a meter switch also. But this is a no-tune linear, 500 watts, 1956. I am so thrilled to have mine working, and you did such a great job restoring it, and it just works so good. And I'm always pleased to put it on the air, and people say, wow, how's that new Heathkit, and how's this new Hamilton, and how's this new whatever, and how's your new Kenwood, and how's your new Icom? No, it's a 1958 20A and a 1956 600. They don't believe you that it sounds that good, but it does. The phasing rigs were great. Well, we appreciate everything that you, George, Bob, and everybody have done to put this together. I'll see you guys on Friday, a week from Friday. And anything else we need to know, Nick?
No, just if you're still on the fence about coming out, get off the fence and come out. We've got plenty of room. We're going to have a great time. This place is spectacular. And I've got to tell you, if anybody's from down in South Louisiana, it's got to be a lot cooler up there than it is down here.
Oh, gracious. All right. George, any last minute that we should take notes when we go to Tennessee?
Well, actually, you know, this will take us, all of us, right back to the 1960s when we had to actually carry this stuff out into the field, plug it into generators, and make it run. It's going to be a good time. As Nick says, come one, come all, and have a ball.
That's great. Well, it's what Field Day was really founded on, the way I remember it. I took that Harvey Wells that's behind me out in 1956, and I'll never forget that, my SX99. And oh boy, but we're going to do it now with 20As and 100Vs. That'll be great. I think we had a slide with the websites. Brian, did you have that? Did that come through for you okay? There we go. That's about the bed and breakfast. And you guys be sure and visit Nick's website. That is so good. I just go through it all the time. Look how cool it is. That's wonderful, Nick. What a great job you did on that, Nick. And,
Auto QSY.
Auto QSY on the old website. And what's the website address, Nick?
It's www.ce-multiphase.com. Or you can just Google Central Electronics and you'll find it.
Okay. Well, there'll be some information there about it. But come and join us. Come and join us for Field Day. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, George. And we'll see you all next week in Tennessee. How cool.
7-3.
Keep the filaments lit.
You got it. You got it. It's 7-3, guys. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Gordon, I wish you could be with us. It's going to be a great fun. Great fun.
Oh, wow. Looking at that house, looking at the lake for a good a swim. Yep. So Nick, K5EF, and George, W1 lower sideband, take good care of Bob and make sure that he gets no sleep throughout Field Day operating Central Electronics gear. Back to you, Bob.
Yeah. Well, just remember, George spent considerable amount of time with Sarah at Dayton, and she was giving him instructions. I don't know what those instructions were. I'll have to report that to you. Oh, golly. Hey, Gordon, I got to show you one very precious thing that happened this week. You know Ray Grenier, I'm sure. K9KHW. When Terry Sturman closed AES, his portion of AES, his life, I should say, AES is still going. When he left and became very ill and so on, he put a lot of stuff in his warehouse. Well, a couple of years ago, my good friend Ray, who was at one time he was the executive vice president of AES, he found this in a warehouse that Terry had put there, and on the back was a note, and it said, "Send to Bob Heil." And I was talking to Ray last night, and he said I should have kept it for myself. Check it out. It's a very rare. I'm going to have to give you guys a dizzy spell, but check it out. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, my gosh. An original lighted Collins sign. Is that what you got?
That was it. And I had it in the Illinois station, but I never really had it upright. Well, I brought it with me this past week when I came back, and I spent all day Saturday drilling holes and making it happen and lighting it. I don't have it lit right now, or you couldn't see it. It's too bright, but it does light up, and it's wonderful. I am so proud to have that. And I thank Ray and, of course, my great friend Terry Sturman, who started AES. It was his idea. It was he and Ray that really put AES on the old target years ago, and made it the tremendous ham radio store that it is today. Thank you, Ray. And, of course, thank you, Terry. So I'm very
super. Ray is so special. And, of course, those of you that knew Terry Sturman and the Starship, wow. Terry was tough on any of us that came into the store to sell them land mobile radios, me back in the early 70s working with Standard. But what a guy. After he'd beat you up, he'd say, "All right, give me 10 boxes." And you'd walk away with a big smile with a lot of bruises. But what a good man. We'll sure miss Terry Sturman. And good for Ray. Hanging in there through thick and thin. Ray, what a guy.
Yeah, I think of Terry. I really mean this. I think of Terry and Ray every day, every morning now. They come in here and see that great sign on the wall. Really cool. Well, where you want to, hey, there's a Collins. There you go. That's a Collins broadcast transmitter from W6TWT. And there's the logo down there. What a beautiful piece. That's Art Deco in its finest. And many, many AM radio stations use that very transmitter, that type of transmitter, to put them on the air. And we're so happy that Mike Giroux put that one together for Leo. That's really super. Well, let's see. We want to take a little time here and hear about some news. So, Don, let's roll Don's report from Newsline. He's on vacation, but he's here via Memorex.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 1869, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, June 12, 2013. A ham radio operator, his son, and an associate who chased severe weather to help science better understand Mother Nature's wrath has been killed by a tornado in Oklahoma. Amateur Radio Newsline's Bert Hicks has the sad details.
Professional storm chasers Tim Samaras, WJ0G, his son Paul, and fellow investigator Carl Young lost their lives on May 31st when a tornado they were trailing unexpectedly changed paths and ran their vehicle near El Reno, Oklahoma. According to news reports, it all happened so suddenly that the three severe weather investigators were unable to escape the storm's wrath. Tim Samaras was found dead in his vehicle, still strapped in by his seatbelt. Paul Samaras and Carl Young had apparently been pulled from the vehicle by the tornado, with the remains of one found almost a half a mile away. Tim and Paul Samaras and Carl Young were not your average storm chasers. The three were part of a scientific field research program known as TWISTEX, which stands for the Tactical Weather Instrumented Sampling in or Near Tornadoes Experiment. This operation was originated by Tim Samaras. TWISTEX was created to better understand the origin, maintenance, and decay of tornadic activity in the hope of gaining insight and knowledge of the seldom sampled near-surface internal tornado environment. The experiment was well known by those in the meteorology community and had been featured on the Discovery Channel's television program Storm Chasers. In a public statement honoring the three, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration stated that Tim Samaras was a respected tornado researcher and friend of NOAA who brought to the field a unique portfolio of expertise in engineering, science, writing, and videography. Samaras' work was documented through an extensive list of formal publications and conference papers. News reports said that Tim Samaras held the Guinness World Record for recording the greatest pressure drop ever measured inside the tornado and was the only person to ever record video from the interior of a tornado using special technology that he had developed. Terry Garcia is the executive vice president of National Geographic Society. He said that his organization had provided 18 grants to Tim Samaras for research over the years for field work like he was doing in Oklahoma at the time of his death. Garcia added that tornadoes were not Tim Samaras' only interest and that his work on lightning was featured in the August 2012 issue of National Geographic magazine. For the Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Bert Hicks in Los Angeles.
Our hearts and prayers go out to the families, friends, and colleagues of these brave researchers. Some names in the news. ARRL Contest Branch Manager Sean Kutzko, KX9X, has accepted the position of Media and Public Relations Manager for the League. Sean Kutzko joined the ARRL as Contest Branch Manager in October 2007, an enthusiastic operator in contest and VHF weak signal work, as well as a backpack QRPer. Kutzko holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from the University of Illinois at Springfield and has worked at several national public radio affiliates in the Midwest. Kutzko replaces former Media and Public Relations Manager Alan Pitts, W1AGP, who officially retired earlier this year but stayed on until a replacement could be found. Pitts will remain as a consultant on the planning of the ARRL's 2014 Centennial Celebration. Taking over as Contest Branch Manager is Mike DeChristopher, N1TA. DeChristopher started at the ARRL last year as a logbook of the World Specialist and Awards and Programs Assistant. He resides in Feeding Hills, Massachusetts, and is very active in contesting from that location. Kutzko and DeChristopher began their new positions on June 17th. And finally this week, there's a new amateur radio TV downlink from the International Space Station. The frequencies of 2422.0 MHz and 2437.0 MHz have been announced for a new ham radio digital TV transmitter to operate as an educational adjunct from the International Space Station. The main mission of what's being called ham TV is to perform school contacts between the astronauts on board the ISS and educational institutions on the ground by providing space station-to-ground video within the ARIS program. The ISS will host a new S-band video transmitting station in addition to the existing VHF FM ham band transceiver. The new equipment will have the ability to transmit images from orbit during the school contacts. It will also be able to broadcast other pre-recorded video images up to 24 hours a day to allow ground stations tuning in. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now let's switch gears and talk about Icom and the Boy Scout National Jamboree. It takes place over 10 days in mid-July from the 15th to the 24th. And Icom is a sponsor and a huge part of the whole thing. Here is some information for you.
K2BSA, the official radio station for the National Office of the Boy Scouts of America, will be very active in July. Next month is the 2013 National Scout Jamboree. Don't just be a contact, be an ambassador to this incredible hobby. Amateurs operating the K2BSA stations will receive a commemorative powered by Icom K2BSA QSL card. Talk to the Scouts and share the magic of amateur radio. The National Jamboree takes place over 10 days from July 15th through 24th. The event is held once every 4 years. This year's event will be held at the Summit Bechtel Reserve in West Virginia. This summit is the new permanent home of the Jamboree. This year, K2BSA and Chairman Jim Wilson, K5ND, will be live at the summit. 4 ICOM 7200s, 2 9100s, and 1 7600 will be engaged in HF demonstrations. Satellite communication and a contact with the International Space Station are also scheduled. 3 ICOM 2820s will monitor the repeaters Echolink and D-Star. Go to K2BSA's Jamboree Live webpage for on-the-air frequencies and information on how to engage with K2BSA while on the site www.k2bsa.net/jamboree-live. Icom is the exclusive amateur radio transceiver and repeater supplier for the 2013 Jamboree. Check out the K2BSA website at www.k2bsa.net for updates on the 2013 National Scout Jamboree, and make sure you visit Icom America's website at www.icomamerica.com/National Scout Jamboree for additional BSA information.
Man, that sounds like fun, and this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, Icom is the exclusive ham radio transceiver and repeater supplier for the 2013 Jamboree. Some of the radios of choice include the HF All-Mode IC7600. This thing is a great radio. Ultra-wide, almost a 6-inch wide LED backlit display. Has DSP, dual watch on the same band. Also, while you're looking at the website, check out the 7200, the 2820H, and the D-Star radios. They're all going to be active during the Jamboree. And go to k2bsa.net. That's the K2BSA website. It has updates for the 2013 National Jamboree. And visit the Icom America website. That is icomamerica.com/hamnation. That's where you can find additional BSA information and enter Icom's weekly drawing for the Icom swag, like the T-shirts, the hats, all the other stuff, and also the monthly grand prize drawing for a free Icom radio, icomamerica.com/hamnation. It's all there, the official rules, all the information, the previous winners. Hopefully we'll see your name there, too, under the previous winners list. Sign up and good luck, because you can't win if you don't play. Now, let's go to George for information on the radio that Icom's giving away. George, pick it up.
Thank you, Memorex Don. Yes, Icom is going to be giving away an ID880H dual band VHF UHF mobile with D-Star this month. After Ham Nation tonight, go register at icomamerica.com/hamnation and get your name in the hat. You can register after each episode of Ham Nation. The ID880H has a wideband receiver, free cloning software, 50 watts of output on both VHF and UHF, weather channel receive with weather alert, built-in noise filters, and much more. So go to icomamerica.com/hamnation and enter after the show tonight. Well, Bob, Gordo, good to see both of you tonight. I've got some news to report here. Gordo, you know, my son was using your books to study for his technician, and he aced that with 100 a few weeks back. He took his general last night and passed it. He thinks he probably missed about 2 on it. So thanks for the books. They worked out great.
All right. Right. All right. What's his call?
KF5VRW. And he's never been on the air yet. And he's already a general. I'm going over there on field day, and we're going to set up his first station. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm losing 2 radios in the deal, though.
Oh, that's okay, Dad. What else are you good for, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I need room on the shelf for more over here, so
Sure,
that'll work
absolutely.
out.
I know a few
Well,
people that we could have you call, get radios.
okay, all right. I'll catch up with you after the show on that then.
Yeah.
I didn't warm up the soldering iron. Well, that's a lie. I actually did have it on a lot this week, but I didn't record it because I got a great forum here from Joe Eisenberg that he did at Hamvention here a couple of weeks back. So let's take a look at that tonight.
I'm Joe, K0NEB. I'm the kit building editor for CQ magazine. We're going to start off with a few hints and kinks that I like to give the kit builders, because really kit building is something that I like to say is like crafts and things like that. And people that do beadwork and so forth have their own way of sorting out things. Well, so do we. So we're going to talk about that a bit. First off, I want to give a few hints of things that you really ought to keep on hand. And the one thing that I always like to emphasize is having an assortment of pre-sorted, standardized parts. Now what that is sometimes you can find somebody, I haven't found them today, but I'm sure there is out there, especially in the flea market, somebody selling assortments of resistors, capacitors, transistors, common values of things that we use quite often in ham radio kits. The reason those are good to have is because when you build a kit, if it happens to be missing like a 10K resistor, okay, it's good to have one in the drawer. Or you break one or something when you're trying to desolder it, you put it in the wrong place and so forth. You really want to be able to have a spare part, and you don't want to have to run to Radio Shack or order something online to get a 10-cent resistor. Same thing with capacitors, diodes, and common transistors and ICs. The other fun thing we do with kits is we like to modify them. Sometimes somebody comes out with a thing and says, okay, change that resistor to 47K and it sounds better. Well, okay, pull out a 47K resistor and you can do that. 9-volt battery snaps. I just saw somebody that has those in here, and they're quite reasonable. I think it's like $4 or $5 for $1. It's a good thing to have on hand. A lot of kits run on 9-volt batteries. Commonly used plugs and jacks, such as 1/4-inch plugs, 1/8-inch plugs, 2 and 3 conductor plugs and jacks, RCA phono plugs and jacks. An emery board. A lot of times if you go to a trade show, home show or something like that, they have all these little doodads on the table, Tootsie Rolls and so on. A lot of them have emery boards with their logo on it. I grab a fistful of those because I use those to clean the insulation off of enameled wire that isn't the kind that you can melt with a soldering iron. So emery boards are a real good thing, good for cleaning off wire. And once again, when you're building a kit, you might need a 9-volt AA, AAA batteries. It's good to have an assortment of them with you so that you don't have to run out to the store when you're just done with the kit and you want to see, hey, does it work? I need batteries. Other things that are nice to have when you're building kits is a variable voltage power supply, and make sure it's metered if you can, because you want to know what voltage you're feeding into your kit. Make sure it's what the kit specifies. An oscilloscope. I was just out in the flea market and I got a zillion pictures. They are going a lot cheaper than they used to. A scope is a good thing to have. If you haven't worked with one, find somebody who has. Once you learn how to use a scope, that's going to be your main piece of test equipment. A dummy load can be as simple as a 50 ohm resistor, all the way up to something pretty elaborate. It's a must-have because a lot of QRP radios have no SWR protection. So when you first key up that radio, if it's into no load or a bad load, you could blow the final real quick and not know you did it. So make sure you have a dummy load and have it attached. A vacuum desoldering station or tool. Now I was out there in the flea market this morning, and I think it's EAE Sales has the Heiko 808s. I think they're around $200. A general coverage receiver. A lot of kits will tell you, hey, you can listen to the local oscillator, and that's a good way to tell if your VFO is working properly. Does not necessarily have to have a BFO in it, but it's helpful. General coverage receiver will let you know if the oscillator is working. Just get that receiver next to it and listen for your carrier. Random wire antenna for testing receivers. Building a crystal set, regenerative receiver, that kind of a thing. If you have a little wire that runs out your workshop window out to a tree or a gutter or something that you can at least get a little bit of the outside world in there, that helps. when you're working with solder, of course, solder comes on those big, heavy rolls. They're really hard to deal with because when you unspool it, it takes 2 hands to do that, and the roll likes to fall off the table and onto the floor and unravel all over the place. So instead of chasing your solder roll holder, chase the roll to one of these roll holders. And once again, I've seen those at EAE and some other places. It's simply a metal holder with a spindle on it, kind of like a toilet paper roll holder. And you put your solder roll on it, and it's got a little wire guide to it so that you just pull it out and it makes sure it doesn't get kinked or tangled. And finally on this list, kit storage to keep your parts secure between sessions. I have 2 cats. The cat gets on the bench near that hot soldering iron, he's likely to get fixed again. The best thing I've found on the market for storing kits, especially in between builds, is this Plano 1354 tackle and toolbox. They sell for around 20 bucks or so. It's got 4 trays with movable dividers so you can change the spacing and the size of each partition. And you can sort your parts of 4 different kits in there. And then you can put your circuit boards and partially built assemblies and your casework and stuff like that in the top of the bin. Now you have one container you can take with you if you go to group kit builds and things like that, like we have at home. And you have all your stuff for your kits that you're currently working on. So when you're doing a stage-by-stage kit, we kind of build from the power supply forward to make sure that it's working okay. Each stage is thoroughly tested before continuing on. The idea of that is so you not only make sure that the kit works correctly, but you learn how each stage works. You know what the power supply voltages are supposed to be in. So you know if something's wrong when you go farther down the road. And it's also easier to isolate problems if a kit is designed to be built stage by stage, because you don't get the whole thing built and have a problem that's affecting 3 different parts and you don't know which one it is. If you're doing one with no sequence, I start with all the resistors first, then the capacitors, diodes, and transistors, and then the ICs, followed by the less often used parts. A lot of kits are that way where they just tell you these parts all go on the board, and hopefully they told you in the instructions if there's a part that gets blocked by another one. It has to be put in before another part because sometimes one part will block it and make it more difficult to get one placed in. Common mistakes. Some of these little tiny RF chokes like we worked with last night in our group kit build at 4 Days in May, some of those RF chokes look exactly like resistors. Check the markings on them, read the stripes. Check them with a meter. Double check your electrolytic and tantalum capacitors for correct values and polarization. Use a magnifier to check your 1/8 watt resistors because they're pretty darn small. And use a meter if necessary on any resistor to be sure you got the right one. Make sure you got the diode stripes in the right place. They don't work the other way. And bend your leads carefully to avoid breaking them. The glass diodes, like a 1N34, 1N914, or 4148s, they're pretty darn fragile. So when you're working with glass diodes, be very, very careful when you bend those leads. It's sometimes good to take a needle nose pliers right up next to the part and then bend outside it. Here's a couple of short hints. I tell people to heat the connection well enough to allow the solder to flow. Use as small a tip as possible to avoid solder bridges, but don't use one too small that it does not deliver enough heat to your connection. And make sure you use solder that's not too thick so you avoid sloppy connections. Because some people have a nice little small soldering tip and they'll have solder that's like this, like you use on plumbing pipe. And of course, it's going to solder about 4 sections of the board all at once. When you trim the leads, make sure that you trim as close to the board as possible without shaving it off. I kind of go right to the base of the wire. Trim it careful and make sure that the clippings, especially the little tiny ones, don't end up wedged between other parts because you still have flux on the board and it acts kind of like a paste, and sometimes it can hold a little bit of wire there and it's going to cause you a problem later on. Some of my best tips are remove distractions, use voicemail, things like that, so you don't have to suddenly pick up the soldering iron. In the IT business, we say, read the fine manual. I did say fine, okay? Read the fine manual. And I've seen some pretty fine manuals out there. Use a cookie sheet to keep your parts from getting away, and it also protects your surface. Make sure, once again, you have your batteries, power supply, plugs, jacks, cables, anything you might need to make that thing work. Keep your spare parts on hand and keep your soldering tip clean. Lighting and magnification. We're getting old, folks. Take your time and enjoy the fun, because kit building is fun.
Well, there you go. You know, Joe and I have only actually met each other, 2 or 3 times, and we instantly fell in with each other. Got so much in common there. I really enjoy visiting him at Dayton and when we're in Huntsville as well. Well, last week I asked a question on the show here. When is it acceptable to recharge a carbon zinc primary cell? A, as long as the voltage has not been allowed to drop below 1 volt. B, when the cell is kept warm during the recharging period. C, when a constant current charger is used. Or D, never. And we had a winner, and that was Clifford Stuck, KD0SDS. And he said, you never charge a carbon zinc battery. The answer is D. So congratulations, Clifford. You're going to win a subscription to the great Electric Radio magazine that has all the information you'd ever want to know on antique radios, boat anchors, and such. Great resource. And for next week, we're going to give away an MFJ 1118 telescopic antenna. This one has a B and C connector on it. It extends on out to, I don't remember how long, but it's bendable. It's got a hinge right here on it. So this is really sold as a scanner antenna, but it would work okay for 2 meters and 440 as well on your handy talkie, I believe. If you'd like to win that, then send me an email and answer this question. What are the 2 major ratings that must not be exceeded for silicon diodes? Now, this comes from the General Radio Amateur Exam, and the choices are A, peak inverse voltage, average forward current, or B, average power, average voltage, C, capacitive reactance, avalanche voltage, or D, peak load impedance, peak voltage. And the question again, what are the 2 major ratings that you must not exceed for silicon diodes? If you think you know the answer, send me an email to hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you could be next week's winner. Now, you know, we've been talking about that field day contest that we were holding over at Amateur Logic with Icom and Gigaparts and MFJ and Howell Sound. And we have a winner on that. And you can go find out all the details as well as our wrap-up of some coverage we did at Hamvention. And that's at amateurlogic.tv. The winner of the field day package, though, was Jeremy Reese, N8YP. So congratulations, Jeremy. You'll be getting that gear here soon. We've already shipped part of it out. And we hope that you're going to have a great field day this year. And Bob, we had a little interview with him on the last Amateur Logic, so people can go over there and see who won the rig instead of them.
All right, that's really great. And perhaps we can get him on the show, where maybe talk to him on the air and make some video. What do you think? That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that might be possible. He does have Skype, because I called him, and it was only the second time he had ever used Skype, but we managed to get a little recording there. So we know he can do it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for all. It's always great. Smoke and Solder is a great part of the show, and we appreciate all your time, because it takes a lot of time. I know that. And all the contests. That's really super. Well, Leo is with us. He wants to tell us a little bit about Audible. And so let's see what Leo's got cooking in his book rack today.
Hello, Hams. Leo Laporte here with a word from one of our great sponsors, Audible.com. We know hams love to listen. Okay, they love to talk. But in between talking, somebody's got to listen. If you like to listen, audiobooks are awesome. There's so many times during the day when you might want to learn something, listen, read, enjoy, be entertained, but you can't hold a book. I'm thinking, you know, your commute, when you're at the gym on that treadmill going, cleaning the house, walking the dog. There's plenty of times. I'll tell you, every one of those times I pop in the headphones and I listen to Audible.com. I've got Audible on my phone. Of course, they have iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, and Windows Phone apps. Makes it very easy to keep your Audible library up to date and listening. You can also get it on your computer. Audible is the world's largest collection of audiobooks, well over 100,000 titles, fiction, nonfiction, mystery, thrillers, So many great books. In fact, I like it so much I've arranged for a free trial for you. A free book when you visit audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. I mean, the only real challenge is what book? With 100,000 to choose from, this is not going to be easy. I just finished The Great Gatsby. You know, I wanted to, after watching the movie, which I loved, surprised myself. I didn't expect to love it. I thought, you know, how close was that to the original book? And of course, first thing I did, went to Audible. Jake Gyllenhaal does an amazing job narrating one of the great books in American literature. I mean, really, really great book. I loved it. This is part of a series that Audible's doing called the A-List series. In fact, The End of the Affair, a classic by Graham Greene, narrated by Colin Firth, the great actor, just won the Audie for Best Audiobook of the Year. That's pretty good. Lots of great stuff to listen to. Choose a book. Listen to it. And, you know, you don't have to pay a penny. You've got 30 days to enjoy it by visiting audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. Cancel in those first 30 days. You'll pay nothing. But that book is yours to keep forever. audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. There's so many wonderful things to listen to at Audible. I know you're not going to have any challenge finding something wonderful. Visit audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. Get your free book right now and start listening. Thanks for listening to me. Now I send you back to Ham Nation.
All right. Thanks, Leo. And I know a lot of the guys on Ham Nation are paying attention. And, hey, it's free, guys. You know how hams will love the word free? Well, check it out. Audible will get you some free stuff. And it really is cool, even for people like me that don't like to read. But you don't have to read. They talk to you. So we've got about 2 minutes for Cheryl, but real fast, I'm going to answer a question quickly because it's going to come up on a show from Phil. Phil asked, what's a good outboard equalizer? It doesn't get any better than this for amateur radio. Yes, you can spend thousands of dollars for all kinds of stuff, but old Julius Jones has got it happening for the hams, and you can just do whatever. We're going to do a show on this in the next month or so. Get Julius on here. Equalization is so vital. All the rigs have it, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand it. We're going to really dive into that. But there you go, Phil. W2IHY. Check it out. Put a PR 781 in front of that, and you got it. So up to Northern Illinois. Cheryl, we're really tight, so we got about 2 minutes. What you got? How are you doing? You and Dave all right tonight?
Don't say that for sure. Hi there, Bob. I'm doing great. We have some thunderstorms here in the area, so I'm going to unfortunately have to move the after show QSL to this frequency that's on the board behind here, which is 14,250. It's 20 meters, so 80 meters isn't going to play tonight, unfortunately. But I'm doing great. Okay. I hope you are too. I understand the time constraints here, so I'm going to try and work that as best as possible. So I'm going to move on to a quick question for George from ZL1KFM Kevin. He's really interested on what was the company that Tommy got his solar panel from? Would you happen to know that, George?
Yeah, that was powerfilmsolar.com. And boy, they've got some great looking stuff on there.
And also one more for you tonight, George, comes from Jim, K5ND. He says he wanted to know about those giant K2 BSA QSL cards that are on display in the background. Do you have any information you can share with that?
Yeah, that is giant. And it came in the mail yesterday with no note attached. Wow. So I just hung it up here. And it
very nice. It sure does. Thanks. And just curious, I had someone in here, Jeremy, N8YP, and you know sometimes we do run outside the ham equipment. He really wanted to know what kind of test equipment might be available for the iPad, but somebody answered that in the chat room, and I wanted to share it just in case somebody else had that same kind of question because they had blown up their last scope. So, and K9 MIT, one of our regulars here in the chat room, Chip says, try this app, www.oscilloscopeapp.com. So try that one. And I really want to get this out here. So a field day comment that's really, really important. You know, there's not too many stations that run on RTTY, and sometimes that can be kind of disappointing. So usually on the 20-meter band, I'm thinking, maybe might be an idea you might want to consider, this suggestion, maybe checking in on RIDI on the top of the hour, maybe for a minute or two on 20 meters. And, maybe the RIDI people can get together that way. It's just such a shame they try so hard, and we really don't know. The question I'd like to know, is Gordo here tonight? Good evening.
Oh,
if you
yeah,
are.
I'm here. Yep.
Excellent. I'm glad to see you, Gordo, because I have a question for you for PSK31 activity. Is that bigger than RIDI on field day, or what do you think? Have you seen any polls on that? I'm just curious.
Well, while there is a lot of RIDI on 14080, 14070 is filled with PSK 31, and that makes it fun. So after you get tired of hearing the whistles, then you can hear the do-do-do-do-do-do noise of RTTY. So go up 10 kc, and there you are. So do them both, and you've probably got it in your software.
Good information to know, and that we're right in time for field day, so thanks for sharing that. I'm sure everybody that does that mode would really enjoy that. I love field day. That's my favorite event. And looks like there is a question here that they wanted to know that they had trouble making 6-meter contacts with the J-pole and wondered about antenna suggestions. That came from our KD0 QLM Rick. And by chance, Gordo, would you have information on that J-pole antenna?
The J-pole is a great antenna. About the only other thing they could do is do a simple dipole about 54 inches on each side of a 1-to-1 balun, or make your own balun. And the big thing is get it up nice and high, including the J-pole. Get it up at least one wavelength, or about 20 feet up. And if the band opens, they'll make contacts, as Bob and I, both 6-meter aficionados, will tell you. So keep trying. It's probably not the antenna, just the band has been finicky lately.
Great.
And the
great.
other thing
good,
you want
good to know.
The other thing you want to look at is the fact that I think it should be horizontal. Verticals are okay for repeater stuff, but 6 meters is it's really a horizontal band, and I've just been a freak about M-squared antennas. You might want to check out Mike Stahl's M-square. It's a fabulous VHF antenna, and works great. So that would be my pick, would be a good old M-squared, and that'll get you going.
That's really good to know, Bob. I love your point of view on going horizontal. That's just a wonderful thought. So keep that in mind, folks, if you want to get on that band. Got to listen to all the possibilities there. And this goes out to all the hosts, starting with you, Bob. Still K1JHS, he says, has anyone used a Hustler 6 Beta TV or 6B TV on a tripod for field day? And what did you do for radios if you did, and how did it work? I'm going to start with you, Bob. Are you familiar with the Hustler 6B TV antenna?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it works okay, but I'm not a vertical guy. I put up dipoles. I'm sorry. Dipoles work great. And for field day, we do bow ties, 4 or 5 different lengths of dipoles all on one feed line. It works great. And I'm sorry, verticals are too noisy, and especially on field day. What do you think, Gordo? What do you think, Gordo?
Bob, a 6B TV, all you do, Cheryl, is hang it on a chain link fence, and then it's got all the ground it'll need.
That's terrific. What an idea. You are such a party in a box, Gordo. I swear. That's what they all say in the chat room, too. You have that going on right there. So cheers to you out there on the West Coast, anyhow. And I just wanted to say, Bob, last year, I know David caught you on a 6-meter antenna. On 6 meters and on 15 meters later on in field day. I think it was Gordo, not you, Bob. I'm so sorry. But it was you, Gordo, that David connected with you last field day. So we hope to catch all of you on field day, all of you guys. George, Bob, Gordo, Don, whoever. We'd love to have that. That would be such a thrill for us. So just so you know, we'd look forward to that too. And maybe that can all work out. And I know there's some time constraints here, so I'm going to wish you a great week. And thanks for coming by and stopping and chatting with me in the chat room. But please come and do the after show QSO on 14250, which is 20 meters tonight instead of 80 meters, because there's 25 dB to 30 dB of noise on the regular frequency. So that's it. Just look over my shoulder. There's the frequency. Take care, everybody. 73 from Northeastern Illinois.
Wow, it's It's very, very good here. We're not having all those storms, so we'll see what happens. How are you doing in Mississippi? Everything okay down there on 40 and 75 for you tonight, George? You okay?
Well, I haven't turned on the radio tonight. There was a real high noise level here, not lightning, but just buzzes early this afternoon. So I'm hoping that's passed now, and we're going to get on there and try it.
Okay, and what's the dewdrop and all of that? You want to give them those addresses for the D-Star and so on?
We'll do that. The Echolink net is on Star Dewdrop N Star. That's node number 355800. The D-Star net is on Reflector 14 Module C. And I'm not sure about 40 meters. It's usually on 7.272. And 20 meters is on 14.268 usually. So if they're not right there, slide around a little bit and you'll probably find them.
Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing all of you back here next week. We're going to have a great show about getting prepared for field day. And I will have my suitcase just about ready to go as we leave the next day for Tennessee. And we'll give you more details. But I know Gordo's got a lot of stuff planned for next week. And the old Smoke and Solder Boy is going to be smoking and making a lot of stuff happen and getting prepared for the most fun time in ham radio, field day weekend. So cancel all your appointments and have fun with us. But next week, we'll be right here again on Ham Nation. Thanks to Leo Laporte and all of the guys in Petaluma, Brian, Karsten, Alex, everybody that makes this show possible. And of course, Gordon West, George Thomas, and Cheryl. We really love all your work. And we'll talk to you right back here next week on Ham Nation. 73. Bye-bye for now.